Hi everybody, Mr. Chris here. So this is going to be the grammar portion of your video. So let's go ahead and take a look at my computer screen. Okay, we've got a couple of example sentences. These sentences are coming from pages 187 and 188. So let's learn what there is to learn and then correct these. So let's see, how can I change this to full screen? I know there's a way and I cannot recall right now. Oh well. Okay. So first off, you are going to be correcting various kinds of pronoun issues here. This particular lesson is called Maintaining Clear Pronoun Reference. Now, I did notice yesterday when I was correcting your essays that there was quite a bit of faulty pronoun reference going on in there. And so for some of you, whenever I found it, I did mark it, and I had, so you can see where that needs to be corrected. So faulty pronoun reference is when you use a pronoun, but it's not entirely clear what antecedent that pronoun is actually referring to. Okay, so let's take a look at rule number one. Please follow along with me, page 186. If you don't have your book with you, then pause the video, grab that book, and then come on back. And we'll get started. Okay, so first off, number one, avoid ambiguous reference. So ambiguous means having two or more possible meanings. Ambiguity occurs when two antecedents are possible for the same pronoun. Ambiguous reference may be corrected by one, repeating the antecedent, or two, rewording the sentence. Your examples here are this: I removed the plastic lids from the cans and threw them away. Now that's ambiguous. Now you might think, well, okay, it's obviously you're not going to be throwing the cans away, but what if you wanted the lids, right? So to actually clear this one up, you need to say, I removed the plastic lids from the cans and threw the cans away. Now you know exactly what was thrown away. That's clear. Okay, here's the second example. Bill told Sean that he really did not know much about botany, which is ambiguous. Now, you would probably assume that Bill is the one that is saying that, but it could be that Bill is really rubbing this in, saying, ha, 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 Sean, you don't know much about botany. So let's see how they corrected this one. So in this case, they turned this into a direct quotation that Bill is saying. So Bill said, Sean, I really do not know much about botany. Well, that clears it up. Okay, so that's avoiding ambiguous reference. Secondly, we also need to avoid implied reference. Implied reference means that the antecedent is not actually stated but must be inferred from other words in the sentence. So implied reference occurs when the pronouns it, this, that, which are used to refer vaguely to a verb idea or to a clause rather than to some definite noun or pronoun. Implied reference may be corrected by one, substituting a noun for the unclear pronoun, two, supplying a definite antecedent, or three, rewording the sentence to get rid of the pronoun. The third method of correction is often the best method. Now, this is something I've noticed quite a bit in doing history work. And so what I've noticed is that a lot of historians are good at history, not so good at writing. And so having this implied reference, like using the word it too much, is the kind of writing error that historians tend to make quite a bit. Okay, so let's figure out how to take care of this one. So let's take a look at our examples. So first, he read the scriptures daily, and this transformed his thinking. Okay, so this is vague. It refers to the verb idea. So how can we take care of this? Well, we just lose the word this entirely and say he read the scriptures daily, and the reading transformed his thinking. Now it's clear. We know we've used the noun instead of the pronoun this. Okay, here's another one. His daily scripture reading transformed his thinking. Okay, now that's definitely the best way to go here because it completely transforms things. Or I used the word transform because it was there in the sentence. I like this one the best because it really clears things up nicely. And if you listen to the original sentence and then listen to this one, it just sounds so much better. So listen to this. He read the scriptures daily, and this transformed his thinking. Versus his daily scripture reading transformed his thinking. Well, yeah, that sounds so much better. It's much pithier, much punchier, much better. Okay, let's take a look at our next set of examples. He persistently refused counsel from ungodly students, which greatly aided his spiritual progress. Okay, it's vague again. Got a which in there. What is the which referring to? So we could either say he persistently refused counsel from ungodly students, a practice which greatly aided his spiritual progress, which is it's clear, but it's still a little awkward. you can instead say, his persistent refusal of counsel from ungodly students greatly aided his spiritual progress. There we go. Boom. Shakalaka. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Avoid the indefinite use of it, you, and they. Okay, so it should usually have a definite antecedent. In this book, it says that walking is an excellent exercise. Oh, okay, does it? Really? So who is it? So what you probably should say in this case is instead is this book says that walking is an excellent exercise, right? That's so much clearer, much punchier, and you just avoid the use of the word it. Note, in the following idiomatic expressions, the use of it without an antecedent is correct. So you can say, it is raining, it is early, it is warm. It seems like that's a good idea, right? So that's actually, it's okay to say those things. Okay, B, do not use you unless you are speaking specifically to the reader. If you're referring to people in general, use general words such as one, anyone, person, or people. So, in communist-controlled countries, you often live in fear. Oh, really? Do you? Wow, I didn't know you were living in a communist country. No, what you mean instead is in communist-controlled countries, the people often live in fear. Okay, C, do not use they unless it has a definite plural antecedent. Okay, what does that mean? So this is something that we do all the time. We say, they say that dieting must include exercising to be truly effective. Oh, who's they, right? Okay, so what you need to do instead is go to the hard work of thinking through, okay, who actually is they? And so dietitians say that dieting must include exercising to be truly effective. Now, I will just tell you, if you actually go to the hard work of doing this, or you remove the word they from your vocabulary as it's used here, then you're going to probably, you're going to clear up half of the shady, the rather shady claims that you make, because it's so easy just to say things like, well, they say this or they say that. Well, do they really? Who says that? And so if you actually have to find the noun for it, it might take care of a lot of those things. All right, let's take a look at a couple of examples here. So, numero uno, the magician pulled a rabbit out of his hat and seemed to make it disappear. Wow. Okay, so how are we going to correct this one? And what's the problem here? So, the issue here is that the magician pulled a rabbit out of his hat and seemed to make it disappear. Now, did he make the rabbit disappear or his hat disappear? Well, we know from seeing this trick that he's obviously making the rabbit disappear, but we need to actually clear it up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite it. And instead, we're going to say this. I'm going to change my pen color here to green. The magician pulled a rabbit out of his hat and seemed to make the rabbit disappear. Boom. Okay, that's what you should be copying down there in exercise A on page 187, number 1. Okay, let's go on to exercise B. Rewrite the following sentences, correcting the implied pronoun references. All right, number 1. Alfred Noyes skillfully created a mysterious atmosphere in The Highwaymen, which had made it... Sorry, that should say which has made it a classic. Okay, so it's a little, we kind of get the gist of what this sentence is saying, but it's a little bit unclear. It's a little vague. And so what we need to do to correct this one is to say this. Alfred Noyes Noises. There we go. Skillful creation of a mysterious atmosphere in The Highwaymen has made the book a classic. Yeah, that could work. Alfred Noyes' skillful creation of a mysterious atmosphere in The Highwaymen has made the book a classic. Yeah, that could work. That sounds good. So this one's a little harder, right? So what we're doing here is we're just removing this word right here, and we're rephrasing this so that you can say it without the word which. So in this case, we turn this whole thing here into the subject. So Alfred Noyes' skillful creation of a mysterious atmosphere.
in the Highwayman has made the book a classic. Or we turned this whole thing into kind of a what noise is for creation. Okay, yeah. So yeah, okay. So what we did is we grabbed the word creation here. We made that the subject instead of having two separate clauses here. So okay, so but at the most fundamental, what we did is we removed the pronoun and then we reworded it to get it correct. So I will just tell you, this can take a little bit of practice, and so I feel like by the time you get to number 5 here on page 187, you'll have mastered this, or at least will be well on your way to having mastered it. But it is a bit of a trick to get this one figured out and to navigate it correctly. But it'll be a big uptick in your ability to write clearly if you can master this particular idea of removing implied pronoun reference. All right, let's go ahead and flip the page to page 188 to exercise C. Rewrite the following sentences correcting the indefinite use of it, you, or they, which is rule 3. Okay, let's take a look at this at number 1 in exercise C. In the Bible, it teaches us to love our enemies. Okay, now this one's pretty straightforward. So what you want to do, similar to the implied reference issue, what you want to do in this case is just to remove the word it. And so the way you do that is just grab the main part of the prepositional phrase, and then you just rewrite it. So you say the Bible teaches us to love our enemies. That's it. That's how that works. So that one's fairly more straightforward. Okay, let's go to exercise D, number 1. Rewrite the following sentences, correcting all faulty pronoun references. This is going to be issues coming from either of those 3 rules. So let's go ahead and take a look. Esau, number 1. Esau sold Jacob his birthright after he came back from hunting. Now, most of you are going to be pretty familiar with this story, so you know that in this case, the word he is in fact referring to Esau, because Esau sold his own birthright when he came back from hunting. However, and he actually obviously hadn't gotten anything because he was very hungry. And so, which would be similar to me if I ever went hunting. Yeah. Okay, so what are we going to do to correct this? We're just going to say this. Esau sold his birthright to Jacob. You know, let's do this. I'm going to rewrite this thing entirely. After he came back from hunting, Esau sold his birthright to Jacob. Now, I'll give you the answer that was actually here in the book. Let me see. What they said was this. Esau sold his birthright to Esau sold Jacob his birthright after Esau came back from hunting. Now, I personally find this pretty awkward. The reason is this. Esau sold Jacob his birthright after Esau came back from hunting. Now, that's totally correct. I mean, we get the idea. It's very clear, but it's kind of awkward because he used the word Esau twice like that. So a good way of getting around that is to restructure the sentence entirely and say something like this. After he came back from hunting, Esau sold his birthright to Jacob. Now, I suppose you could argue in this case that this is still ambiguous because, so who came back from hunting? So maybe what you need to do is say, after Esau came back from hunting, he sold his birthright to Jacob. Now, I think that's the best one. Yes, there we go. After Esau came back from hunting, he sold his birthright to Jacob. Okay, now that clears everything up there. So I feel like this one is is the best option. So as you can see, there are different ways of doing this, and this is actually the answer given in your textbook or in our curriculum here, but I would argue that this is actually the best answer because it's the least awkward and gets everything correct. All right, guys, you're going to be doing pages 187 to 189, exercises A, B, C, and D, and then you're not going to be doing the writer's corner personal essay, where we've actually, like, you're writing your second draft, or already have written your second draft, and so they were pacing things a little bit differently in the book instead. All right, thanks so much. Have a wonderful good day.